Hey, um, I guess this is sort of a response to response video, but I want to talk about basically kind of in defense of myself, I guess. And that is, I'll just get to the point. I think I've been very reasonable to leave people who voted leave in the EU referendum 3 years ago. I think I've been very reasonable in the way I've conducted myself. I think I've been very reasonable in terms of how I have approached people who have a different point of view than me. But I will not tolerate someone throwing vitriol in my direction and expecting me not to bite back. Isn't going to happen. You come to my channel and you attack me, I will bite back. Um, so let me just go back a little bit and talk about what I'm referring to here. I made a response video to the video I made where I was talking about the sabotage incident in the Midlands. And there were some pretty nasty comments there. Now, that's not the sort of thing I lose sleep over. Although I was a little bit taken back, if I'm being completely honest, about just how vitriolic they were. Um, but this is the nature of the internet. You go online and you voice your opinions on things. Some people will disagree in an adult manner, and others will not. That's the nature of the internet. Um, So anyway, I made a specific video specifically responding to them. And irritatingly, some people didn't bother listening, didn't bother reading, and they thought I was just trying to make a pro EU video or attack all people on the Leave side. Now, I I voted Remain, but I'm reluctant to call myself a Remainer, adjective Remainer, because that indicates that I'm actively campaigning to remain in the EU, and I'm not. I didn't go to that huge demonstration in London. I haven't signed that petition, the the one that's got 6 million plus signatures. I haven't done a lot of those things. I have argued that I struggle to see what good is coming from Brexit. I have raised concerns, um, but no, do I call myself a Remainer? I can't call myself that at the moment. If I start campaigning, then I guess that would be the accurate term for me. But I'm neither a Remainer or a Leaver. Certainly, I'm more aligned to the Remain side because that's what I voted, and I stand by that 100%. But anyway, I think I've been very reasonable because whenever I've seen comments from the Remain side that don't help that side of the argument, when I've seen comments that can easily pigeonhole the Remain side as being liberal elitists and so on, I've always condemned it. When Jon Snow, for example, made that comment about there's a lot of white people here, I condemned that. I thought that was just ridiculous. I've hit out at the New European, the pro EU newspaper, for some of the way they have covered things. I have condemned Remainers who constantly bash this country whilst wrapping themselves in EU flags. I think that's wrong because it only plays into the hands of those who say that the Remain side is unpatriotic. So I have I feel that I've held the more extreme aspects of the Remain side. I've done my responsibility as someone who voted Remain by keeping them in check as much as I can. I haven't been silent about it. I've been consistent. I'm site more consistent than certain levers, that's for sure. I mean, where are the moderate levers? Where are the people who are? I would like to see them being a bit more vocal on the extremes in their midst. I'd like to see reasonable leave people who dislike the EU and are very wary about the EU's power, but don't want a no deal Brexit, and they don't like to see some of the things that are being done in the name of the Leave campaign. I'd like to see them speaking a bit more. Well, actually, Dominic Cummings has. Dominic Cummings said, he was a campaign organizer of Leave, said that the sort of attitude that hard leavers are taking is toxic, I believe was his words. And I think he's right. I think that is definitely damaging the Leave side of things. But no issue in my lifetime as in this country has been so divisive as this. I was born in 1985, the year after the miners' strike. That was a bitter dispute. The poll tax was bitter. The anti-austerity protests in 2011 were bitter, but nothing comes close to Brexit. Even the Scottish referendum in 2014, I was in Scotland at that time, it was very divisive, very bitter. None of that comes as close to what this has done to the country, and it's just tragic because it all could have been avoided. I think it was a grave mistake to call that referendum when there was no contingency for what how to deal with such a divided country, for a parliament in absolute gridlock, and on every level there just seems to be have been a lack of awareness of what this would do. I do understand the frustration of Leave people who are seeing these extensions and they see that as a way of stopping Brexit. I do see the frustration of Leave people who see, the petition to reverse Article 50 and so on. But where I disagree with them is this idea that democracy is a referendum that a majority vote on something and then that's it, and that is there is absolutely no flexibility around that insofar as because the majority voted at that time, then we have to do this a certain way. So, for what I mean by that is this idea that anyone who is a Leave person and says that 17.4 million people voted for a hard Brexit, for a no deal Brexit, they're just lying. I was in a group, UK Politics, and I was going to leave the group anyway, but they ended up, I guess, kicking me out because I told them some home truths about the way they were going about things. They had rules, like a lot of groups do, no personal insults, no this, that, and the other. And yet their very admins were breaking the rules. They had one admin who was constantly trying to goad the Remain side, just constantly these pathetic little memes. Now, that's obviously personal insults, and often they were directed at individuals. So the very admins were breaking their own rules. I really think that these people, if instead of talking about the treacherous government and how enraged they are about that, they need to recognise the damage that these extremists are doing to their side. I think there are Remain people who are not helping the image of the Remain side. They are giving that perception of liberal elites and Euro fanatics and all the rest of it. And I've condemned that. But to defend myself here, I think I've been very reasonable. And I've put up with a lot of personal abuse over this, even though I'm hardly a militant Remainer. I'm not. I don't love the EU. There's things about the EU that really irritate me as well. I mean, there's lots of things. Waste, EU regulations mandating that vegetables be a certain size. EU waste insofar as packaging. It's a huge plastic pollution problem. EU arrogance as well. I do think there is arrogance at the top, and I do think that the likes of Jean Claude Juncker and co are arrogant technocrats. I get all that. But this growing rage from hard leavers is concerning because when they say the only choice left is to riot on the street, and they say when they talk about civil war, and then they have the audacity to accuse the Remain side of scaremongering. Time and time and time again, I say not all Leave people are this, not all Leave people are that, but some people seem to have selective hearing. I've always said that. And actually, I've seen a lot of people on the Remain side go out of the way to say, don't call Leave people racist, don't say this, don't generalize. So I would like to see Leave people being starting to rein in on the generalizations on their side. I haven't seen much of it, to be honest. I'd like to see reasonable Leave people say, no, it's not fair to call all Remainers liberal elites. But here's something I don't get. If you don't like a channel and if you don't like the person, hosting the channel, then why the hell do you keep coming back? I don't get people who come to my channel, they blatantly don't like me and don't like my views, and yet they keep coming back. Do you really think that you're going to change my mind? Do you think that I'm suddenly going to see the light? You're wasting your time. I'm pretty damn tolerant, more tolerant than some of my critics. And I'll say this, though, that tolerance only goes up to a certain point. I'm under no obligation to put up with vitriolic personal attacks. I'm not talking about people disagreeing with me. I'm talking about rubbish. I'm talking about people calling me a traitor, which is a baseless claim anyway. Anyway, leave it there. But I'm getting a little bit tired of defending the Leave side and saying, oh no, they're not all like that. We can't say that. And that's true. But why should I always stick my neck out to defend people who are abusing me?